All right.
Okay, again, my name is Matthew, Cooper Lighting Controls. So you have a green gate system here. It's all networked together. So some of the parts and pieces you have here. So these are the exterior panels here. This is a spare future, nothing connected into here. But you got 3 relays for the exterior lights. This panel is called a, doesn't say on here, it's a CK4. Control keeper, and the 4 is the 4 relays. So if something happened to a relay, something happened to the board, this whole board is just replaceable. 277 volt. So a couple of overrides, and this is going to be the same for the panel up in the common areas on the 2nd and 3rd floor. You have a master override up here. You can turn all the lights on. You can turn all the lights off. In the center is auto. That's where you're going to typically want to do it. And then you can also control an individual relay right here. You say you can turn that one on or off, right? So what you should want to see in here, maybe we'll take a look at this one right here. You can see a little better. So the status light should just be kind of blinking, constant like heartbeat every couple of seconds, and that's going to be on on these panels and on the room controllers. This power ISO things, those should be on all the time. And then this network, you should only see it blinking when there's communication going on across the network. And there's actually going to be quite a bit of communication because this other component of the system down here is your integration. And so this is your BACnet integration down here. And you can see it's flashing down here because it's constantly pulling itself. So right here is what you have it called a BMS Pro. That's going to interface with your building management system. I believe they're using it for HVAC occupancy. And then these 2 are what's going to communicate back into the system. So you have 2 of them. So one of them you can communicate in with your laptop onto the network for programming, and then the other one's going to be dedicated for your BMS system, your BACnet system. Because if you do them, you can do them both together, but there's going to be interference. You might lose some signals or some communication. So that's why they're 2 separate ones. So this is called an EIM, Ethernet Interface Module. 2 of them here, 2 of them over there in Sierra, and then you'll have 1 BMS Pro for BACnet interface, 1 at each building. These need to be set up on the building network. There's cables ran that go to your IDF rooms, but nothing's programmed or set up in Sierra and Foothill. No patch cables, no ports enabled or set up or anything like that. So I have it set up as a little mini local network right here, so I can do my programming. Once I leave, it's not going to work until your IT is set up in there. Okay, so that's kind of it for these little panels. The only difference between here and upstairs on this 2nd and 3rd floor is you have dimming. So there'll be another line of terminal blocks at the bottom for dimming. This one doesn't have dimming. That's going to be your basic difference. So now we can go take a look at a room controller.
Way we're able to get this to talk. I've got to go to an individual port for a laptop. How do I go about setting that up to just plug a laptop in to be able to talk to the program?
Okay, so that's how I'm set up right now. So I can just kind of walk you through that and show you. So you would plug in to the what do I want to call it? The software side of it, I guess. And I don't mark that. They didn't mark when they set these up, the IP addresses. I like to write the IP addresses, and over there I wrote them. And so I'll make sure I write them, and then I'll put a BACnet and maybe software, so you can see which one you're going to plug it into. So you'll plug it into it, and you'll set up your computer with a static IP address. Okay, I don't know how familiar you are with that, but IT definitely can help you do that. So you just go to your network connections, plug in a Cat5 cable directly into it. So I would just need 1 if I'm just doing software. So I can just plug this one directly into my computer, set up a static IP address. And so it's got to be in this range, but it's got to be different, right? So it's 10, 70, 14, and then I'm at 188, and this is 185, 4, and 3, I believe. is how that's set up. So something other than 543, 180, so I'm 188, just to be in that range. Okay, so you set up your computer as a static IP address. And this should already be set up.
So we need to have the Gatekeeper software on the computer already, and then it would start talking.
Keeper Enterprise, but yes, yes. And so, like, here's building F, and how we're going to communicate on the network is 183. Okay, so whichever one says 183 on here, that's where you'll plug into, and you can you'll be able to open this. This isn't going to change. This is going to be here. You'll be able to see that, and you'll know which one it is. So you just make it 184 or 185 on your computer or something like that, or 182. Just don't make it 183, and then you can be able to directly connect to that. And that's how I am. I'm directly connected to F. I can't see S from here, and I can't see anything else. And
So your device is specific.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I have all the buildings here, and I can look at them, but I can't see anything live, and I can't push changes to it. So yes, that's how you would do it. You just plug a cable directly into whatever building you're looking at. And over there, so it's like A and B is one network, right? Like that software, R and O are one network, P and M are one network. They could have done F and S here, but for whatever reason, they just made it two different ones, probably for ease of installation. You good with that? Any other questions? Anything else you want to look about with that?
That helped a lot.
Okay. All right, let's go see what classroom he opened up, and then we can take a look at those last two sections. That's going to be zone 1. Are you doing 1?
Yeah, zone 1.
Okay, so zone 1, here's your daylight sensor. A little white kind of tuck thing up there. And so zone 1 is going to be your primary zone, closest to the window. It's going to dim. And then I didn't do the programming part of it here. This is my first day from here. And zone 2 typically is going to be shut off because it's not going to be in the daylighting zone. So it's probably going to be, daylight is probably going to be disabled on zone 2,
Right.
would be my assumption.
With the goal to match in the room, zone 1 and 2 to match with daylight.
No.
Oh, you don't want that?
No. So if zone 2 is disabled, it's just going to be at 100% or whatever they manually adjust it to. But this it's going to adjust its daylighting. So lights, no, they're going to look totally different. Because down here, foot candles at the desk, then yes, that's what you're trying to get. Whatever, 40-foot candles, 40-foot candles. Yes, that's what you're trying for. And that will be dimmer. But these will not. These will be different. Right. That section will be dim. This section will be bright.
But at desk level, you're gonna.
That's what you're trying for because you got the natural light coming in from the windows. Yes. Are you recording or are you ready? Then you can see the tiny little blue section right to the right of that terminal block for dimming. That's going to be your occupancy vacancy settings. And it comes there's 4 of them, and it comes all of them off. And if you want it to be occupancy, and you can look at what the existing one is and just match those dip switches. 3 and 4 will, if you turn those on, that will be an occupancy setting. The ports, you can kind of see them, but starting at the bottom where the green Cat 5 cable is plugged in, 1 through 5, 6 it looks like, those are specific. A switch has to be plugged in too. And there's a little card up there that kind of tells you, you can see up there up on top, it tells you what everything is. Right? So a sensor has to be plugged into 3 or 4. And a sensor is an occupancy sensor or a daylight sensor. And the switch has to be plugged into 1. If you plug it into something else, it's not going to work. And so then a typical classroom is going to have 2 zones in it. You're going to have like an AV zone and a general zone. This one's a little bit different because you got the extra lights up there with those down lights. So, yeah, you're going to be able to turn off the lights, separate for the projector, the screen, compared to the rest of them. And is this exactly all the switches are in all these classrooms, or is this?
For the
most part, there is a
I
difference.
thought it was a little different. I thought there was a 4 button.
Right, so in some of the classrooms, there's a partition wall, and there's a sensor, so when the partition wall opens, the lights will behave differently with, there's a main station, so you can control the scene of the whole room. And then when the doors are closed, it's independent again.
Okay.
It's like a little, like a garage door laser light sensor that can tell if it's open or not.
Gotcha.
Are we able to look at that today?
You can go wherever you want.
I'm in.
So that's the room controller. There's no programming. They can do whatever you want to it. You can't program the switch. It's kind of how it is. The only thing that you can change is the scenes. And if this isn't a scene switch, then you can't make any changes to it in the software.
Not yet.
I know in classrooms you can make changes to their scene switches, and you can make changes to those.
Are those dip switches or the
That would be in the Keeper Enterprise software.
Okay. But if you pull a like-for-like switch out of the box, and you go get a new one to replace it and plug it in, it should keep
Yeah,
the
there's
same.
nothing you'll need to program for
You
that.
don't even need an electrician to do that, because it's just a Cat5
Yeah.
cable.
Okay, and then just while we're here, I guess, for the occupancy sensor, if you pop that off, there's a couple of dip switch settings in there that you can do. So the time delay is going to be up in there, and they're probably all just default, which is roughly 10 minutes. It's called Learn. And it's supposed to learn how the room is used and kind of adjust itself. So, but you can set specific, you can do 5 and 15 and 20 or something like that, or what it's in is right now is auto. And then there's a couple of dials for sensitivity. So if you have a room that was maybe always staying on, you can adjust that sensitivity down a little bit, or if it's taking too long to come in, you can crank that sensitivity up a little bit.
I wonder if that would help with our tech room that's on the way.
Yeah.
We have 2 rooms, a classroom and a tech office where the lights hop on randomly throughout the night.
So,
Probably too close to an air vent.
And if it could be on middle of the night purge, because they are heat detectors too, right? You need motion and heat.
Yeah.
these are dual tech, but you just need one of them.
So if it's
Well, actually, I
purging-
think you need both of them to trigger and one of them to keep it on, I think is how these work.
Yeah,
That makes
I was
sense.
told that if these have to be 4 feet away from a vent, otherwise it picks up the thermal change, right? It thinks that there's a
Can we
person
turn
or
the
something.
sensitivity down on that then?
Yeah, so it's there's a dip
Make 'em
switch.
move it.
There's a dip switch setting for infrared, I believe, and it will tell you on there. There's the dip switch tells you what they are, and then there's a dial for the
LED override, sweep, full hand, logic, HVAC, track, and 0 time delay. I don't see one on here for the,
why don't you just say maybe it's 4? What's 4 say?
it's probably 4, because 3 and 4 are both on mode. So 4, yeah, it just says on mode, which is probably the thermal.
I think that's how it comes out of the factory for some reason.
Yeah.
But then there's a dial for the other sensitivity.
Right here, yeah, we got daylighting and
And that's so
ultrasonic.
daylighting, this, if you set it up with some other stuff, this one has the capability of doing daylight, but it's not. That's your daylight sensor.
Ultrasonic sensitivity.
Yeah, so the ultrasonic is coming from the dial, and then the,
So it doesn't look like these lights in the front are on a zone. How do you turn those on?
it's a good question, I don't know.
Lights in the back.
There was a switch up here in phase 1.
Oh.
There was 2 back there and 1 back, and they had, all 3 relays being used. How many relays do you have being used here, 2? That's what the room controller looked like.
I'm gonna go.
So yeah, over here in Sierra, there's a room like this, and there's 3, it has 1, 2, and 3 over there. I don't see a, huh,
This one doesn't have that one. I don't. I don't know how this is controlled.
Yeah. That could be something to look into now.
I think they're gonna be something like 150 and 20, something like that. And so it's gonna dim on a percentage of the level, right? So if it's 100% and it's gonna dim 20%, it'd be, 70 and 100. But if it's at 50 and it's gonna dim 20%, right, it would be down to 30. And so it's gonna dim on a percentage of whatever the whatever 100% is. So it's not gonna be, it's not gonna be the same level as if it was at 100%, which is, it's kind of weird, right? And so it could be, if you have the lights dim, it's gonna be dimmer than you probably really want it to be, is what I guess I'm trying to say. It's set up for being 100% dimming for there. But then you just have kind of your on, off, and raise, lower over here for zone 1 and 2, and then over here is where you have your scenes at your teacher workstation. So the switch is a little bit different over here. And then so these scenes 1, 2, and 3, those you could make changes in the software on the scenes. But like I said, I think it's something like 20, 50, and 100, and then you got your raise, lower, and then your off button. So then right here, what's supposed to happen is both of these are supposed to work together when the room is open, and then when it's closed. And being closed is just this being blocked, right?
Even
So
if it was
here's,
open just a hair.
so here's the infrared.
Yeah, it was open a little bit.
Yeah, so if this was open just a little bit, it would be blocked. And you can tell if they're blocked by the LEDs on there. So right now, if they're both green, they should be open. When they got blocked, this is like an amber or red or something like that on the other side. And again, here's your daylight sensor right here. I believe there's probably one occupancy sensor for each room, kind of right there in the center. And they're not going to turn on automatically when you walk in here. You're going to have to actually hit the button, kind of like everywhere else.
So, because of the daylight sensor, you shouldn't be able to override it with that, but it is, right?
On scene 3, it looks like it's going dimmer than
With this, you can't mess with the dimming on that one from over here because of the daylight sensor. So I turn it on. That's zone 1. Is it on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it came on.
And you
All the way
can't,
down.
you shouldn't be able to raise it as high as this one is.
Yeah, 'cause this one's brighter now.
And the way the room controllers come, zone 1, which is that one you're saying? Is going to be your
Zone
primary daylight zone.
This is zone 2.
Okay, so that's zone two.
1. And the way these are set up on the plans, for the most part, zone 1 is always on the right as you're facing the screen. So it's different over there. So if you look at A and B, that's A and B, and then over there, the right side is A and that side is B. So I don't know
Yeah,
if
that's just lazy engineering by Cal Lighting, just copy and pasting.
Right.
And you could switch the daylight zones. I think you guys got one of these remotes with phase 1. There's actually a couple more that they have with phase 2. So you can adjust daylighting. You don't like daylighting, you don't plug the Cat 5 cable.
I don't think we have that.
You'll get some with this. With I saw them in the electric
Yeah,
room.
got
They got
two
them
down there.
So with the close up. And you know what? They're probably somewhere, right? Because the electrician gives them to the general contractor gives them to whoever, and then you never see them. Or the people that actually need them.
was a little bit messy.
Yeah.
I can go grab those two and bring them to you real quick so they don't get lost, because I don't know if I'll see you again, but I know those remotes are. I'll be right back.
I would love that.
So do you just point the remote right at the daylight sensor?
Yeah, and I can show you how to do that with one of them.
That'd be awesome. Are they
you got 'em on.
universal?
Huh?
They're universal, I'm guessing, so it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
We don't need to be addressed or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, and so, kind of, let's stand back here, because there's gonna be some LEDs that tell us what's going on up there in that little black window. And so, up here at the top, it kind of tells you, right, or we have direct sunlight, do we have high sunlight or low sunlight. So it'd be what time of the day, facing north, south, whatever. So I would say this is probably a high one. So you're gonna tell it, okay, we are gonna be looking at high, and so these are gonna be flashes. So you should see 2, 3, and 4. So I'll hit it up there, and this isn't plugged in. Oh, you know what? My remote's dead, or I sometimes change the yeah. Okay, so we'll wait for the new ones. But anyways, I kind of identify it, and it will blink 4 times, and then here's your zones, right? You see, you have up to 3. So if you don't want zone 3, but we don't have zone 3, you would just turn it all the way up, right? Zone 2, if you don't want it to daylight, you can just turn it all the way up. And then if this is too low, you can go do a click at a time, and I think that's I think it's roughly 5% is what it will change it up or down. And you can adjust it. And then you just kind of leave it, right? So it's going to be you can't take it out of daylight programming, if you will, for a couple of minutes. And there'll be a green and a red LED sensor once I get some
Notice
battery.
there's an arrow on there, is that
Okay.
pointed towards the light source?
Yes.
I noticed down in the first classroom, it was pointed at the
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah.
I was just like,
So with that, you could unblue tape it and actually change.
For types,
Okay.
RC3, room controller 3 relays, and then an E, or not an E for an emergency. You'll see an extra yellow wire in there if it's emergency, and don't think these have emergency lights in the classroom. I
Don't believe so. I think it's just the common
think,
areas.
I don't think classrooms typically do.
I think the emergency lighting is that exit sign. That's what's considered.
Yeah, so.
yeah, it drops down that right light.
So yeah, we can look at the drawings, but yeah, it's just gonna say an RC3 and RC3E just for emergency. Those are the only 2 for one.
So if I get 5 of them for put on the shelf, they're gonna be universal to the entire thing.
Yep. Okay. So you can hit this ID button and it will tell you what it thinks it is. So that looked like it was 4 blinks. So it thinks it's getting direct sunlight.
That's it's detecting direct sunlight outside.
Yeah, that's what it thinks. I would probably say it's high, and it matters, but not super important. But it is going to set the range of what your foot candle is, what it's reading. So I mean, we can say that's fine. We can leave it at that. Or you can pick a specific one, so it's gonna flash 3 times. Okay, so zone 3, there's no zone 3, but okay, so you can see it here. You can see the green LED flashing. So that means it's in programming mode.
Okay.
Okay, and when it's out of programming mode, it's going to stop. So nothing should have dimmed down because there shouldn't be a zone 3, right? There's no zone 3 here.
In here? No, scene 3.
Yeah. Okay, so 2. So we'll do 2. It should be that one. Okay, you can see it dimming down. All right. So we're just going to actually crank that one up all the way because we don't want it to be part of daylighting. So we'll just go up until it doesn't go up anymore. And then. Okay, so you're saying this is maybe a little bit too low in here, so we can go up, like, a little bit brighter. That's probably a little bit better. Yeah. Okay, so you can just leave it. And then when that green LED stops blinking, that means it's out of, yeah, it's a couple minutes. Or to force it out of it, you can hit any off button in the room. So if we turn the lights off, it should have stopped blinking, right? So it's not in programming mode anymore.
So does that reset the entire parameters, or is that just that one instance? It's gonna be.
No, that's set your daylighting now.
So from now on, it will.
It's not going to be quite as dark in here. And I don't know if they went and did specific
No, we
daylight.
didn't do anything with the daylight, with the adjusting of the daylight.
Okay, so
Everything just is the way it is in the factory.
that's kind of usually how we leave them unless there's something specific. We may have to go through tomorrow and the ones that are flip-flopped, right? So this is actually zone 2 right here, and that's zone 1. They're not gonna dim right, so we can flip them around, we can turn. So if that's the case, right, and somewhere else, so if zone 1, if this was zone 1 over there, we can crank it all the way up and not have it be part of daylighting. And then we can adjust 2 down a little bit more because it goes in, this is what it thinks. So zone, whatever's connected to relay 1 in there is gonna be your primary zone. And it's gonna dim the most. And then zone 2 is gonna dim a little bit less, and zone 3 will dim a little bit less than that, if you have 3 zones in there. So usually 2 and 3 are gonna be turned off. So you just come here and just crank them all the way up, and then you can adjust zone 1 a little bit darker, a little bit brighter.
So you hit ID first to connect to it?
Yeah, so I do ID to see what it thinks it is,
Okay.
right?
That gives you its current status?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and then if it's not what I think it should be, it's usually gonna be high or direct. Those are your pretty 2, unless it was some dark cave room or something. Yeah, I usually go with high, tell it what you're seeing is high, and then start adjusting from there. So those are your guys'.
Let's play with this one over here real quick.
Yeah.
While you're here.
And so if you do hit,
That's the
you don't see any